There's no traffic out there. I came from Queens. I came from Long Island.
Is it true?
Did Gary see it?
We're on, yeah. Okay, good evening and welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Town of Eastchester October meeting. Today is Tuesday, October 12th, 2021. We start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, while everyone's coming to order, I usually take this time in our meeting to go through the ground rules. Tonight, Board Member Peter Nerzia is running late. He may miss some, most, or all of the meeting, so we're going to proceed without him. Firstly, we observe Robert's Rules of Parliamentary Order, which essentially means that we have a certain procedure for these applications and when the public is heard, etc. So first let me call the roll first to see who's here and who's not, and then I'll let you know about how we're going to proceed with certain items. So the two items on number 1 and 2 for resolution are 21-26, 18 Oak Ridge Place, and 21-27, 15 Webster Road. Is either applicant here? Okay, we're going to proceed to resolution? Good. Okay. On the new business items, 21-33, that's 25 Greenvale Place. Is the applicant present? Ready to proceed? Okay. Number 4, 21-34, California Road. Ready to proceed? Good. Number 5, 21-35, Sprague Road. Applicant ready to proceed? Good. Number 6, 21-36, Tudor Lane. Okay, let's stay on the calendar, but let me go to number 7 first. 21-37, 106 Fisher Avenue.
Both of those are John Yanacito's. I'm sure he'll be here.
Thank you, Mrs. Yulee. Okay, well, they're late in the calendar anyway. One item has been adjourned. That's 20-19 Kids Corner, Brook Street. That's been adjourned to October for further information. Okay, now, as far as items on that are on for new matters on, excuse me. Our general procedure is that you don't have to come up and recite or read your entire application. The matter's been marked submitted. Your entire application and all the exhibits are a matter of public record. It won't hurt your application if you read it, won't help. We would ask that you just synopsize the application, and then what we generally do at that point is we allow the board to ask any questions or comments. Thereafter, there will probably be a motion to open the matter to a public hearing, and at that time, anyone from the public interested in being heard, you'll need to be recognized. You'll give your name and address for the record, and we'll allow you to proceed. Okay? Once the public hearing is closed, we allow the applicant to respond if necessary, and the board sometimes will have questions or comments, and then there may be some motion practice at that time. The one thing I want to make clear, because we've been meeting for about a year and a half now under the pandemic, under Zoom meetings remotely, that no new correspondence will be accepted after the close of the public hearings. That's very important because people will inundate Mrs. Yulee's office with calls after or wanting to submit material. It can only be, you can only be heard during the public hearing, and once the matter is closed, it's closed. Okay? So, having said all that, I firstly make a motion to approve the minutes of the September 14, 2021 meeting. Is there a second to my motion?
Second.
Mr. Cahalan, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. My next motion is a motion to approve application 21-26, 18 Oak Ridge Place. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. DeMarco, to the vote. Mr. Cahalan?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. DeMarco?
Yes.
I vote yes. That's been approved 4-0. 4-0, I shouldn't. This is not a baseball game. 4-0. Number 2, I make a motion to approve application 21-27, 15 Webster Road. Is there a second to my motion?
Second.
Mr. Cahalan. To the vote. Mr. Cahalan?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. DeMarco?
Yes.
I vote yes. That's been approved 4-0. Okay. Moving on to new business. Again, item 3 on the calendar, 21-33, 25 Greenvale Place. And while the applicant is setting up, Just to let the public know, this is an area variance to construct a one-story rear addition and outside landing and stairway.
Good evening. I'm Stephanie Malinsky with SM Architecture Studio. I'm presenting on behalf of my clients Doug and Vera Cassidy. Their house is located at 25 Greenvale Place in zoning district R6. They're requesting permission to replace an existing one-story addition at the back of the house with a new, larger one-story addition with basement to expand their kitchen and create a great room. You can see on the site plan the additions at the back of the house. The yellow area represents the existing addition, and the rest of it shows what we're expanding upon. We're requesting two rear yard a rear yard and a side yard setback. You can see in the green area how we're going over the rear yard setback. The third variance is for gross floor area, and due to the height of the house above grade, the basement's included in the gross floor area calculation, and as a result, we're going over by 359 square feet. I included the photographs so you can see the dense trees at the back and the side of the property, making it not visible from the neighboring properties. Show you the plans and elevations. This just shows the basement storage area, an expanded kitchen at the first floor, and a great room. And the elevations just tying in with the existing architecture. Do you have any questions?
Thank you for your presentation. Mr. Cahalan, any questions or comments?
Oh, just to say that your submission was excellent. Excellent submission, some of the best I've seen in a while. Thank you.
Are you Mr. Cahalan's daughter?
Anything further, Mr. Cahalan?
No.
Mr. Miller?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Mr. DeMarco?
It was an okay submission, no questions.
Well, Board Member Cahalan's is a tough marker, so that's quite the compliment.
I can't give anybody a compliment.
I took a quick look at and listening to your presentation as well. The numbers seem to be de minimis, and I wanted to hear a little bit more about it and see it in person. I make a motion to open this application for a hearing to the public. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Cahalan, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Would anyone from the public like to be heard on this? Okay, seeing no one, I make a motion to close the public hearing on this matter. Is there a second?
Second that.
Mr. Cahalan, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, because I have to. Mr. DeMarco, anything?
Nothing.
Mr. Miller?
Nope, none.
Mr. Cahalan?
Still like the submission.
And,
Like it better if we had this, huh?
No.
well, just to let you know that the application seemed to address the issues of how it fits into the neighborhood, and that you've met the five-part test, so I don't have any objection at all. I make a motion to adjourn this matter for resolution at the next meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Miller, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, number 4 on the calendar, while you're setting up, is 21-34, 883 California Road, and this is an area variance to construct a pool and a patio.
So I'm presenting on behalf of my clients Ryan and Cardinal Dougal. It's located at 883 California Road, zoning district R6. They're requesting to build a pool and patio at the back of their property behind the garage, requesting 2 variances, one for the rear yard setback. Zoning requires 10 feet. They're requesting 9. The second variance is for impervious surface. The site is already over by almost 2,000 square feet. This is due in large part because of a 1,475 square foot barn that you can see on the site that was converted to a garage. And because of this long driveway to get to the garage, we have a lot of impervious surface with that as well. Also, the turnaround is really necessary because it's on a steep part of California Road, making visibility difficult coming out of the driveway. We're doing our best to minimize the additional impervious surface. We have just the pool coping on two sides of the pool, here and here. Here, we just, we want some space off of the garage as well as a seating area on the side of the pool. The pool will be surrounded by a privacy fence, 6 feet high, making it not visible from the neighboring properties. We'll also be adding 2 dry wells for increased impervious surface. Any questions?
Okay, well, we'll go to the board. Before we do, I just want to clarify that the vast majority of the impervious surface is currently existing and legal non-conforming, correct? And the dry wells don't exist, so you're adding a couple of hundred more square feet and you're adding dry wells, so you're actually improving the condition.
Right.
Okay, Mr. DeMarco, anything?
Nothing.
Mr. Cahalan?
No, I think it was important that in the presentation, she pointed out that the real problem is that old barn. That's really what's causing this to go over. It's so huge. It's incredible. When you go back there, it's incredible, man. You would never think you're in
What have
Eastchester.
you done with Mike Cahalan?
So, he'll be back. So, but no, seriously, I think that's important to the presentation. And I'm concerned, as everybody knows, about the impervious surfaces in this town. That's one of my things. So, but this is a completely different animal. This was there, so.
Thank you, Mr. Cahalan. Mr. Miller?
No comments?
And I said what I had to say. I make a motion to open this matter to the public for public hearings. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. DeMarco, all in favor? Aye. Would anyone from the public like to be heard on this application? Okay, seeing no one, I make a motion to close the public hearing on this matter. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Miller, all in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Cahalan, anything further?
No.
Mr.
Was
Miller?
this the second best application you've ever seen?
Mr. DeMarco?
No, nothing,
Not
thanks.
gonna leave me alone tonight. God forbid, give some people credit for work.
So I have nothing other than the fact that, once again, I think your application, your presentation, has answered the 5-part test favorably, including how it fits into the neighborhood, et cetera. So I make a motion to adjourn your application for resolution at the next meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Miller, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, number 5 on our calendar is 21-35 6 Sprague Road. While the applicant's setting up, this is an area variance to construct a screened-in porch over a portion of an existing rear deck.
Good evening. My name is Nick Faustini. I'm an architect for the Malik residence at 6 Sprague Road. We're proposing a covered screen porch over an existing deck. There's actually an existing deck there now. We've submitted an application earlier this year to replace that deck, which has already been permitted. The reason we're here tonight is because we'd also like to cover a portion of the deck. The zoning code does allow for a roof covering over the deck, but we also would like to screen the deck, and that would constitute an enclosed porch at that point. So that sends us here to the zoning board for non-compliance with the setback. A covered open deck can extend up to 19 feet within the rear setback. We're at 20.6, so we're beyond that number. But as a screened porch, it has to comply with the principal building setbacks of 25 feet. So that's the first area variance that we're requesting. We're also proposing, as we cover the deck, that's also increasing our impervious surface numbers. Approximately 20% of this property is covered by the neighbor's driveway. So there's an easement on this property to the east that covers 20% of the property and increases the impervious surface numbers, not to the benefit of our applicant, but to the detriment, actually. So the increase that the covered porch is creating is just an increase of 3% in the impervious surfaces of the property from its current state. So similar to the prior application, this here is an existing, a grandfathered non-conforming condition that's already over the impervious surfaces. So the addition of our deck is only adding, or the addition of our covered porch is only adding 3% to that impervious surface number.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. This time, let's see if the board has any questions or any comments. Mr. Cahalan?
Yes, I do.
Proceed.
I think, as I said before, impervious surface is quite important. But again, here's a case where you're adding a covering, which is a roof, and the roof counts as far as the impervious surface calculation. So hence, you're going over, 722 square feet, but it's not really ground impervious surface here. It's more roof impervious surface. So I understand that. Otherwise, I'd be very concerned with a, 26% increase. But this is a little bit different, another different type of application. And that's my comment, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Cahalan. Mr. Miller?
I have no comments.
Mr. DeMarco?
Nothing, thank you.
I have nothing at this time. I make a motion to open this matter to the public hearings. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Cahalan, all in favor?
Aye.
Would anyone like to be heard on this application? Please come forward, come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and speak freely.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. I'm Peter Telesco, 892 Post Road. I'd like to say thank you to all of you for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight. I have to say, impervious surface variances, they scare the heck out of me because the last year I've lived with pretty much a nightmare situation from a neighboring property that went over the impervious surface allowances, and I am right now up to $50,000 in damages from flooding from the last storm because of the impervious surface that just fed the water into my property. So when I read this and saw 722 square feet of impervious surface is being asked for, it scared the heck out of me. I can't afford another house like that next to mine. The backyards butt up against my side yard, and they're 4 feet higher than I am, so all that water is gonna find its way to my property because water runs downhill. However, that being said, I'm glad I came tonight because it's really not 722 square feet that he's looking for. Much of it's there already, so it's not gonna be like the other property that the entire backyard's gonna be paved and stone, and that water has no place to go but into my yard. This is gonna be a covering, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that as long as I can be assured that the dry well is gonna be put in a place that's far enough away from my property that that water's not gonna dissipate into my property. I have a picture so you could kind of see where, because unless you see the difference in elevation, you don't understand it. This is that lattice fence.
Would you like to put it on the podium, please? So the public can see it?
If you look at the lattice fence, right behind that is a 4-foot retaining wall.
Can you clip it up?
Yeah, please.
Could see it. Could see it.
This lattice fence right behind it is a retaining wall, and you can see there's the retaining wall, and there's the backyard right there. So if you put a dry well too close to that retaining wall, where's the water gonna go? Through the retaining wall into my property. So I'm very concerned about the placement of the dry well, more than I am about the couple of hundred square feet of impervious surface that the roof is gonna create. I didn't understand that that whole driveway was factored into this already, so I feel better about that big number, but this is important. You know, the other house, the dry wells were put there, and I can't tell you, it was like a fire hose coming into my property. My dry well was overwhelmed, my sump pump was overwhelmed, and I'm up to $50,000 in damages now. I can't have that happen a second time to me. I can't. So while I'm not against this project, I really think that the site needs to be visited so that we can decide where the proper place for this dry well would be, because it's very important. My property needs to be protected. I just, I can't continue to live like this in fear of another storm and now another flood in my basement. I'm in my house 20 years. I never had water. Never. Not Sandy, not the 100-year storm of 2011, no storm that came through. Now, I have a property next to me that the entire backyard is stone of one side, one kind or of another, and I've had a flood. And I've had, as I said, I'm at 50,000 now. Where's it gonna end? And I've had no sleep since September 1st when this happened, because I have to deal with this every night when I come home. I have to try and get my house back together. And it's unfortunate, and I feel it's unfair that it has to happen because somebody wants to pave their whole driveway, so, I'm sorry, their whole backyard. So I'm just concerned that I didn't want that to be the case here, and I'm happy with that. If you can help me with the drywall placement, I'm okay.
Anything further?
That's it.
Okay, thank you for
Thank you.
your presentation. And would anyone else like to be heard on this? Okay, seeing no one else, I make a motion to close the public hearing on this matter. Is there a second? That I will allow the applicant to respond, but this, right now, we're in the middle of a public hearing. So I've made a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second? Mr. Kalin, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, would the applicant like to be heard?
Just to add to the neighbor's comments, again, that we're not adding the 722 square feet. It's a much lesser amount. The area under the screen porch will remain as gravel, so it's not paved. And we're also happy to work with the neighbor to move the dry well further away from that retaining wall so as to not cause any water to find its way to his property as best as we can.
Thank you. That would be something that would be brought up with building. We're not really here to hear where that's going to be located, but the sentiment that you want to work with the neighbor is the more important. So I thank you for that and for your reply. Would you like to add anything else? No. Okay. Mrs. Yulee?
Yeah, two things to reiterate, because this should have made it into my meeting notes. They're actually adding only 201 square feet of impervious surface, so that 700 and something does sound a little deceiving. And then, even though the building department does review the drywall calculations, other than certain required setbacks from structures, et cetera, for this type of application, we don't often require that the location be changed, but I think in this case, because of the history with the property at 4 Sprague and drainage conditions, I'll get our engineer to coordinate with the architect to actually even do perk or a deep hole test to make sure that that's sited appropriately. So I think that can be a condition, because that's not something that would typically, the perk tests and deep hole tests aren't always done for additions and alterations. So I think we'll coordinate with our engineer.
Yeah, that was my point. I wanted it to be coordinated rather than something we can't really make that determination from our seats here today. Mr. Cahalan, do you have any questions or comments?
No.
Mr. Miller?
No.
Mr. DeMarco?
No.
I don't have anything. I make a motion to adjourn this application for resolution to the next meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Cahalan, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your presentation. Okay, item number 6 on our calendar, 21-36, it's 24 Tudor Lane. While the applicant's setting up, this is an area variance for a proposed two-story addition.
Good evening, members of the board. Nice to see everyone this evening.
Good evening.
My name is John Yanacito. I'm an architect, and I'm representing Mr. and Mrs. Paul Weber, the owners of the subject property. We are proposing additions and alterations to the existing single-family residence located at 24 Tudor Lane. Come over here. So the proposed scope of work will include a two-story addition at the rear of the existing residence, which is highlighted in this light green color. The construction of a second-story addition over the existing footprint at the side and front of the existing residence. An entry portico at the side of the existing residence, and site alterations including the expansion of the existing patio and a new basement egress stair. The proposed addition and alterations will require 2 area variances. The first is for a rear yard setback where the proposed is 22.5 feet and the required is 25 feet. A deficiency of 2.5 feet or 10%. And the second is for the total gross floor area, where the proposed is 2,558 and the required is 2,500, an increase of 58 square feet or 2.3%. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Yanacito, for your presentation. To the board for questions or comments, Mr. DeMarco?
Nothing.
Mr. Miller?
No, excellent presentation, one of the best I've seen.
Mr. Cahalan?
Very consistent as always, but no questions.
Okay. I don't have anything at this time. I make a motion to open this matter to the public for a public hearing. Is there a second to my motion? Mr. Cahalan, all in favor?
Aye.
Would anyone from the public like to be heard on this application? Please come forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and speak freely.
Good evening. Andrew Levin, 22 Tudor Lane. I'm his immediate neighbor, so if you're looking at it from street, I'm to his right. My only concern is, and he's been very great to work with. Originally, the original plan was to build out closer to my property. Our houses are very close already, so he's not doing that, which I'm very pleased about. My concern, because I couldn't really see everything there, is are there other parts that are coming closer? He mentioned a portico and something else. So my concern is there's a 10-foot setback. Are there other pieces that are encroaching on that?
Well, as a general rule, the board's not going to make a determination to answer a question, but I could have the applicant perhaps reply.
Sure.
Please, Mr. Yanacito.
So we are proposing a entry portico on the side of the existing residence.
If you could take the microphone?
So if we look at the exterior elevations, this is the side that faces your residence. I guess we could look at it. You can look at it on that screen also. Right here this is the side that faces your house. So we're proposing this.
Mr. Yanacito, and if I may interrupt, it's very difficult for the stenographer later on to get the back and forth. So why don't you proceed, and then if Mr. Levin has anything else to add, I'll allow you to continue. But it's easier one at a time, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
So we are proposing a covered portico, entry portico on the side of the existing residence, and a basement stair. The basement stair is completely below grade, so all you'll see there is a railing for the basement stair. And the portico, as per zoning code, the portico is allowed to extend 4 feet into the side yard without the requirement of a variance. So we don't need a variance for the portico.
Thank you, Mr. Yanacito. Mr. Levin, do you have anything further you'd like to add?
No, I mean, if it doesn't require variance, there's nothing for me to object to. My concern was strictly if things were encroaching, because that's where our patio is, and it just gets tighter and tighter and tighter.
Okay. Well, the encroachment has a legal significance. I guess what I'm driving at here is that we have two parts to the application. One is that it is exceeding the gross allowable square footage by 2.3%, and it's encroaching into a rear yard setback at about 10% by 2.5 feet. That's really what we're looking at the moment.
Okay.
Okay. So do you have any comments on those two items?
No, I do not.
Oh, okay. Okay, so thank you for your presentation. Mr. Yanacito, anything further on this as it relates to the public?
No, at this point, unless there's anyone else.
Well, let me find out. Would anyone else from the public like to be heard? Yes, please come forward, name and address for the record, and proceed.
Tom Murphy, 27 Downer Avenue, Scarsdale, New York. I am the rear neighbor of the applicant, and these are small lots. That's a relatively small house right now, and he's proposing quite a large addition. My objection is the setback variance. Closer than 25 feet, he's going to be 2 stories right up on my backyard. I feel that that's a negative impact on the resale value of my home. I'm not really comfortable with that. I would like to see it stay within the 25 feet. Other than that, I don't have a problem with its size. I just don't want it closer to my house than it already would be with the 25 feet.
Okay, thank you for your time. Would anyone else from the public like to be heard on this application? Okay, seeing no one further, I make a motion to close the public hearing on this matter. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Kalen, all in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Yanacito, if you'd like to reply, and then the board may have further questions or comments.
Yeah, we did take a look at trying to keep the addition a little bit smaller. It just didn't work out with the size of the bedroom on the second floor. It would be a very narrow bedroom. If they, they just didn't want to have a tight bedroom on the second floor, and that's why we're asking for that minimal 2-foot, 2.5 feet variance in the rear yard.
Okay, thank you. Mr. DeMarco, the public has been closed on this. Anything further, Mr.
Nothing
DeMarco?
further.
Mr. Kalen, do you have any questions or comments?
No.
Mr. Miller?
No.
I don't have anything either. I make a motion to adjourn this matter for resolution at the next... No, the public hearing has been closed on this. So let me finish my motion. I'm making a motion to adjourn this matter for resolution at the next meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you for your presentation. Okay, last item on the calendar is number 7. Because there's if I may, there's a legal procedure that we are obligated to follow. And we follow Robert's rules, and when a motion is made to open the public hearing, the public is heard. When a motion is made to close the public hearing, it's closed. I have no discretion. I'm obligated by the Court of Appeals to do exactly what I just did. Okay, item 7, 21-37, 106 Fisher Avenue. This is an application proposing to modify dwelling units in an existing mixed-use building.
Good evening again. My name is John Yanacito. I'm an architect, and I'm representing 106 Fisher Avenue, LLC. We are proposing interior alterations to the existing mixed-use office and residential building, and we're proposing an increase to the number of dwelling units in the building. So I'll go through the plan to show you where the changes are going to occur. So here is the first floor plan, which is currently office space, and there'll be no change to the first floor space. The second floor is an existing 3-bedroom unit, which will also remain the same. No change on the second floor. The third floor is currently a 2-bedroom unit, and it will be converted into 2 1-bedroom units, which will increase the parking requirement, I believe, from 2 spaces to 3 spaces. So that's a 1 parking space increase because of that change on that floor. And on the 4th floor, it is currently used as storage, and we're proposing a 1-bedroom dwelling unit on the 4th floor, which will increase the parking requirement by 1.5 spaces. So the existing property is currently non-conforming with respect to the front yard setback, both side yard setbacks, impervious surface coverage, and the total number of off-street parking spaces. The increase to the number of dwelling units will increase the existing non-conforming parking requirement by 2 parking spaces. So it will be an increase from 12 spaces, required 12 spaces to 14 spaces. So the variance that we're requesting is a total of 14 spaces are required, and only 1 space is existing, the space within the garage, which will be for a handicap space. So the deficiency is 13 spaces, or 92.8%. But our increase in parking is only 2 spaces. It's currently already deficient by 12 spaces. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Yanacito. Questions or comments from the board? Mr. Cahalan?
Yeah, I mean, this is just, you know, you could spin it any way you want, but having 13 parking spaces over there that's required, whether it's non-conforming or not, you know, I understand that, you know, the owner is trying to utilize with rentals the way they are today, I get that, but that is a crazy spot all day long. I mean, I drove by this thing twice this weekend. There's no place to park. Even at night, there's no place to park over there. You know, Popatina is one thing going on. You have a big apartment building next to it that has parking underneath. It's a war zone is the best way to put it on most days. You know, so asking, you know, to come in and ask for this kind of a variance, to me is just, it's way too much. I'm sorry, it's just way too much.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Cahalan. Mr. Miller?
You know, I know the area very well, and I do have to share Mr. Cahalan's concerns with respect to the additional parking spaces, on top of the parking spaces that are already non-conforming. I mean, maybe there's something you could somehow work that a little bit. I don't even know where people park in that area if they work there during the day. No further comments.
So basically,
DeMarco? Yeah.
you're seeking a net of 2 parking spaces.
Correct. We're increasing the nonconformity by 2
By
spaces.
2
but
spaces. You
we're-
already approved at 13, you're seeking.
No, they're not. They're not.
Hold on.
So the variance,
Let me,
the variance is for the entire
What's the matter?
13 spaces, but we're increasing the nonconformity by 2 spaces.
Okay.
It's already a pre-existing condition that doesn't have a variance, it's just existed for many, many years, but because we're making a change, we have to ask for a variance on the entire parking.
Gotcha. Okay, understood.
right, as of right today, you only have 1 space, and you would have to have 14 under this application.
Correct, so.
Okay.
Yeah, we need 14 today. Without the changes, you would need 12 spaces.
Right,
There's only 1 existing, so you would need an 11 parking space variance if we did nothing today.
right.
We're increasing that by 2, so we need a 13 parking space variance.
Okay. I'd like to drill down on a couple of points. Could you clarify exactly the modification in use? It's an area variance, I understand that, but the modification in use that you're proposing, meaning you're going from 1 2-bedroom to 2 1-bedrooms?
Correct.
And you're also modifying a storage space to a 1-bedroom?
1 bedroom.
So you would be creating essentially 3 more dwelling units with parking
Well,
requirements?
so we're creating 2 dwelling units, because on the 3rd floor, there's already a single dwelling unit that has 2 bedrooms.
That's fair, okay, so it would be 2.
Two new dwelling.
Okay. And presumably the 2-bedroom, you'd have someone else, you'd have another use for that bedroom and possibly parking.
Parking requirement for a 2-bedroom unit is 2 spaces. I think it's 2.5 spaces. So the parking for a 2-bedroom unit is 2 spaces, where a 1-bedroom unit is a 1.5. So actually,
Right.
two 1-bedrooms would require 3 parking spaces, where a 2-bedroom only requires 2 spaces.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm driving at, so maybe I didn't articulate that well.
Same number of bedrooms.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, one second, let me finish.
So
Go ahead.
it's a 2-bedroom in 1 unit, or 2 separate 1-bedrooms.
Okay.
The 2 separate 1-bedrooms requires 1 additional parking space.
And a storage,
Storage requires no parking.
right, is being converted to a one,
Requires 1.5 parking spaces.
right, okay. I just want to be clear on that. Mr. Cahalan, did you have a question or a comment?
it's just, no matter how you drill down, you still don't have the parking. I understand what you're trying to do here, but it doesn't work. If you make the changes, then you have to fit into the parking requirement. Don't make the changes, you're grandfathered in.
Right, so it's still the
This is
parking's
like
still-
Abbott and Costello, 1 banana, 2 bananas, how many bananas do I have? You don't have 3 bananas, Lou.
I understand, but if the building exists today and there's a deficiency of 11 spaces, we're increasing that by 2 spaces, not by 14 spaces.
But you're at, because of the code, you are. You need those 14 spaces to do what you want,
But the building still exists.
regardless,
need the-
but
you
the
still
law
need the parking.
changed.
Well, okay, so, and do you have anything to add other than what you just said? Because I don't want to avoid the back and forth, but I do want to highlight one other thing. Do you?
This is a very healthy banter tonight.
And the stenographer's going to need an extra bottle of vodka to take this all down.
We can provide that.
So, okay, anything you want to add to what he just said?
Depends on what he says.
I don't know, third base. Okay, so,
Exactly.
getting back to my point about the current usage, and again, that the legal nonconformity is 11 spaces at the moment.
Correct.
And you can't make a nonconforming use more nonconforming, so that doesn't, the 11 space nonconformity doesn't count. Now you're at 13 spaces nonconforming when you apply for what you're looking to do.
Right.
And I'm, again, just trying to drill down on what the anticipated need for parking is actually going to be compared to what it is now. And it sounds like you're going to have, a solid need for those 2 or 3 more spots.
Right, and we
Okay.
also have a long driveway in this, but we can't count the parking in the driveway because you have to have direct access to the garage.
Right.
With back out aisle requirements, but you can easily fit 3 more cars up the driveway.
Okay.
Illegally,
And, hold on
But
one
why is it
second.
legally?
because they can't get out and the fire department can't get in.
Well, let me, if I
The
may,
fire department can even
if
get
I
up the
may,
driveway.
if I may. So, with applications like this that have some complexity and with the board that is expressing concerns in different ways by almost every board member, sometimes it takes some time to maybe flesh through maybe some modifications in an application. But before I get to that, let me just, for pro forma's sake, make a motion to open the public hearing on this matter. Is there a second to my motion?
Sure, second.
Mr. Kalen, all in favor? Aye. And seeing no one present to come forward
I'll
to be
make a motion
heard,
to close it.
I'll make a motion to close the public on this matter. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Cahalan, all in favor?
Aye.
The only
Okay.
thing, Mr. Chairman, that I would suggest is that if you are discussing or potentially are going to discuss some type of modification potentially, then the public may need to be heard on, additional facts that come before the board.
Well, Mrs. Yuley, I believe they're going to have to renotice with any modification, won't they?
It depends on the, I think if they minimize the extent of the variance, that typically is okay, but I do agree that if any kind of changes, you should keep the public hearing open.
Okay. So,
And you could, since this is all being done publicly now, you could modify the vote that you just took.
okay, board, what are your thoughts on this? Should I move to, would you like me to move to reopen the public hearing on this?
What kind of modifications are you
Yeah,
suggesting?
I don't
Well,
understand
I'm-
what you're after, Al.
Well, we're talking now about possible modifications to an application, and would the applicant be considering those?
Well, I mean, so the proposed modifications are going from a 2-bedroom apartment to 2 one-bedroom.
Right.
I feel that, you still have 2 bedrooms. It's a single, 2 units. The fact that the code says you need 1 additional parking space because you've converted it to 2 dwelling units, it's still 2 bedrooms. The 4th floor converted from storage to an apartment, I mean, if that goes away, I guess we would just need 1 parking space because we're converting a 2-bedroom unit to 2 one-bedroom units.
But regardless of the modification, you would still have to come back here for the variance, seeking a variance for the 11 spots.
We would need 11 spots no matter
Right,
what.
so
Right,
it's not about the modification, it's about the parking spots.
right. So no matter what we do, any modifications we do, we're still gonna need 11 parking spaces.
Correct.
We're gonna create 11.
At a minimum.
The building exists as it is today, you still need a variance for 11 parking spaces.
Right, but the use right now,
You
the
make
use
any
right now is legal non-conforming. When you were mentioning things about driveways and other things, sometimes I thought I was hearing a modification to the application.
Yeah,
Maybe I didn't hear that.
We looked at the site of possibly removing the garage and trying to create parking, it doesn't work. I mean, with backup aisle widths and trying to get
There's no
cars-
turning radiuses there.
There's no way to do it on this site. We were thinking we would get 2 parking spaces in the garage, but because of the handicap requirement, you have to have a parking space plus the access aisle, and that takes up to 2 spaces. So that's
Okay.
where we're at. We have 1 parking space
I
on
hear
the
you.
site.
Okay, so then I misinterpreted what I thought was coming forward. All right, so then I don't think there's any need to do anything with the public hearing on this. I could, at this point, make a motion to adjourn this matter for resolution at the next meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Cahalan, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for your
Okay,
presentation.
Thank you.
So public is closed.
Yes, correct. Okay, I have a motion now to adjourn the October meeting. Is there a second to my motion?
Second.
Cahalan, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.